But I think if it's purely learning you're after, that learning can be done much more either on your own or through the internet or by uniting through the internet with like-minded groups. So I think that's one problem with the current educational system.
What's your opinion on the current education system? When I asked people on Twitter what they wanted to ask you, this question came up a couple times, which was, how would you fix it? What's your opinion on the education system? What are your thoughts around that?
I think there's no question it's completely obsolete. The education system is a path-dependent outcome from the need for daycare, from the need for prisons for college-age males who would otherwise overrun society and cause a lot of havoc. The original medieval universities had guard towers that faced inwards, for example.
I did not know that.
Yeah, because you have to put a curfew in there, and you have to lock up the young 18-year-old males before they go out with swords and daggers and create trouble. So college and schools and the way we think about them, they come from a time period when books were rare, knowledge was rare. Babysitting was rare. Crime was common. Violence was prevalent. There was no such as self-guided learning. So I think schools are just byproducts of these kinds of institutions. And now we have the internet, which is the greatest web of knowledge ever created, completely interconnected. So it's very, very easy to learn. If you actually have the desire to learn, everything is on the internet. You can go on Khan Academy, you can get MIT and Yale lectures online, you can get all the coursework, you can get interactivity, you can read blogs by brilliant people, you can read all these great books. So the ability to learn, the means of learning, the tools of learning are abundant and infinite. It's a desire to learn that's incredibly scarce. So I just don't think that schools matter for self-motivated students. What the schools matter for is, one is they keep the kids out of the parents' hair while the parents go to work. It creates socialization because kids want to be around their peers and they want to learn how to operate in society of their peers. But I think if it's purely learning you're after, that learning can be done much more either on your own or through the internet or by uniting through the internet with like-minded groups. So I think that's one problem with the current educational system. The second problem is, what do you choose to learn? And the current educational system has to have a one-size-fits-all model. It has to say, well, you have to learn X now, and then you have to learn Y. And to give you examples of where this is obsolete, memorization. Right? In a day and age of Google and smartphones, memorization is obsolete. Why should you be memorizing the Battle of Trafalgar? Why should you be memorizing what the capital of this or that state is? But we still put undue weight on that just because that's the way it's always been done. And we lived in a pre-Google world. Another example is how when we're moving along at a certain pace, I'm sure, not everyone, but I'm sure 90% of your listeners have had this happen to them, which is they were learning mathematics, and at some point they were keeping up. They were doing arithmetic, then they were doing geometry, then they did trigonometry, then they did pre-calc, then they did calc. And somewhere in there, they got lost. Somewhere in there, while building the massive edifice, the logical structure that mathematics is, they missed one lesson, they missed one concept, they missed 5 classes, or their brain couldn't think a certain way that something was being explained to them. It should have been explained visually, but it was being explained numerically, or it should have been explained symbolically, and it was being explained in cartography, what have you. But they were not able to keep up. And the moment you lose that rung in mathematics, the moment you miss that rung in the ladder, you can't go to the next one. Because now in the next one, the teacher's like, okay, we're done with pre-calculus, now we're moving on to calculus. And you're saying, wait, I didn't understand pre-calculus. And I understand how pre-calculus leads from trigonometry to calculus. I missed that whole part. So now you get to calculus, you don't understand the fundamentals, and now you reduce to memorization. So now you're like, oh, okay, dx, dy, when I see that symbol, I do this. Yeah. But now you've lost the actual learning. You've lost the connection to the underlying principles. Yep. So I think learning should be about learning the basics in all the fields and learning them really well over and over, because life is mostly about applying the basics and only doing the advanced stuff in the things that you truly love and where you understand the basics inside out. But that's not how our system is built. We teach all these kids calculus and they walk out not understanding calculus at all, when really they would have been better off served just doing arithmetic and basic computer programming the entire time. So I think there's a pace of learning issue. And then there's finally what to learn. And there's a whole set of things we don't even bother trying to teach. We don't teach nutrition. We don't teach cooking. We don't teach how to be in happy, positive relationships. We don't teach how to keep your body healthy and fit. We just say sports. We don't teach happiness. We don't teach meditation. Maybe we shouldn't teach some of these things because different kids will have different aptitudes, but maybe we should. Maybe we should teach practical construction of technology and like maybe everyone in their science project, instead of building a little chemistry volcano, maybe you should be building a smartphone, right? So we just haven't kept up, and I have to believe that we can change the system, but we're not. But you never change a system by taking the existing thing and reworking it. I don't believe. I've been in Silicon Valley and tech business long enough to know that you're better off changing it just by creating something brand new. So one fantasy idea I've had is, after I'm done with AngelList, or if I had more time on my hands, I would like to create a successor to the one laptop project. In MIT, Nicholas Negroponte had the one laptop per child project. Yep. But then I saw this fascinating write-up, and this is really a long time ago, maybe even 5 years ago, maybe it was in The Economist or somewhere. And it was a story about how they left a box full of unopened Android tablets in a little village in Pakistan. And when they came back months later, the kids have opened up the box. They've all figured out how to boot up the tablets. They've hacked them. They've gotten past the user administration root login. They've installed a whole bunch of apps. They've got a little economy set up. The older kids are teaching the younger kids. They're teaching their grandmothers how to run businesses. They're surfing the web. They've taught themselves English. Kids are learning machines. They just need the tools. So to that end, what I would love to do is create a very low cost, very rugged, easily powered, cheap Android tablet that's hard to destroy, and basically distribute them around the world with pre-built learning applications so that you can literally fire one up and it works with you interactively in 30 seconds and figures out what language do you speak, if any, or you can just be symbolic, and what level of aptitude are you at? Are you a second grader, third grader, fifth grader? And of course, it varies by different discipline. And then it lets you dive into and let you learn anything you want that will make your life better.
Just and on going the edge back to my original competency.
Exactly. And it always keeps you on the edge, and it always keeps pushing you. And then you can network in all the teachers of the world. So anyone who wants to be a teacher can contribute. It's not just Salman Khan doing Khan Academy, but essentially you could network connect all the teachers of the world and all the students of the world using tablets, and do it at a pace and level where it's essentially customized for each child. And they're learning the things that have a practical outcome in their life. And I know there's advantage of liberal arts education, pushing things that people don't necessarily want to learn on their own, but they have to have some desire for it. It's better to wait until they think they're ready and then give it all to them. Because I think that's the way that learning sticks. So that's the kind of project I like to work on, but I don't think it's solvable with the current school system.
I hope you get a chance to work on that. I think that'd be a phenomenal impact to the world.
Yeah, I think it would be fun, and I'm thinking about this now more because I have a young infant son, and honestly, I don't want to send him to school.
How do you, as an adult? I mean, you mentioned a couple of physics books in the start of the interview here. How do you, as an adult, go about learning new subjects, you specifically? And
yeah, mostly I just stay on the basics. So even when I'm learning physics or science, I'm sticking to the basics. So I'll read concepts for fun, but I'm more likely to, do something that is arithmetic than calculus. I'm not going to be a great physicist at this point, maybe in the next lifetime, or my kid will do it. But it's too late for me. So I have to stick to what I enjoy. And what I love about science is mathematics is the language of nature. Science is, to me, the study of truth. It is the only true discipline because it makes falsifiable predictions and actually changes the world. And applied science becomes technology, and technology is what separates us from the animals and allows us to have things like cell phones and houses and cars and heat and electricity. So science to me is the study of truth, and mathematics is the language of science and nature. So in that sense, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. And to me, that is the most devotional thing that I could do, to study the laws of the universe. And so the same kick that, some guy might get out of being in Mecca or Medina and, bowing to, the prophet, I get that same feeling of awe and that same small sense of self when I study science.